So we have to be mindful of who we're following. And when we are mindful of that, if we need to unfollow these people or mute accounts, that's another step. That's another way we can manage social media.
Your mental health is as important as your daily living. You will not go about with a broken leg. So why do you think it's okay to go about with a broken mind? Welcome to today's edition of Tea with Dior. This is why in a podcast with me, I have an expert on this subject. We've all been hearing about mental health. We've been talking about it, but do we really understand it? Do we know what it means? So we have an expert. She's an expert on mental health, counseling in mental health, actually. And she's got a degree, a master's degree in this field. She'll be helping us go through, some of the challenges we face that put us in, many positions that we find ourselves, how we're dealing with mental health. She'll be dishing out tips on how we can, navigate through life with all these challenges and all, and possibly what we can take home today. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you. So I have with me here, or let her do the introduction herself. So please, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Esse Batarian. I currently work as a psychosocial case manager, and I volunteer sometimes as a counselor. Just like she mentioned, I have a degree in Master of Counseling.
Okay, very quick. I like that. So let's get straight into it. But to start with, if mental health was a drink, we all can relate with a drink, whether frizzy drink or anything. I don't want to say to include alcohol, obviously not alcohol, but if mental health was a drink, what kind of drink do you think it would be?
If mental health was a drink, I would
Yeah.
say it would be like a warm cup of coffee. You
Oh.
know how coffee is really energizing and comforting, and sometimes it's exactly what you need to go through like a tough day. So that's what I would say mental health would be. And just like coffee, it can get too much, or too much of it, or too little can like throw things off balance. Yeah, so it's the same as mental health. Mental health too requires like moderation and consistency, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, it
Yeah, so
does. It does. I definitely can relate with it. So let me go straight to what is one myth that people think of mental health? Like something we generally assume. We make up things a lot. Like, so what's one myth that we all have about mental health, which is not, it probably is not true. What myth have you heard about or you know about?
To be honest, there are many that people just talk about and all of that. But one common one I think is that mental health or therapy is only for people who are seriously mentally ill or in crisis.
Oh.
Yeah, because many people believe that seeking therapy or counseling means you are at your break, like you need to do that when you're at your breaking point. But that's not true. Therapy can be helpful for anyone, regardless of the severity of their struggles. It's not just for those in immediate distress. It can also be it can also be like a proactive way to maintain your mental well-being, work through
True.
everyday challenges, or healthier way to cope, when you're in difficult times.
Oh yeah. Okay, totally. I totally agree. I totally agree. I for one would think that, for me to consider myself, I think generally the world mental health is already like, ooh, so it already looks like I'm in crisis, like you said. But obviously you don't have to be, it could just be the same way you work out, you have routine on how you eat, work
Yeah.
out, and have an healthier life. That's the same way you pay attention to your mental health. Okay, so I get that. Now let's get straight into the real questions of the day. Okay, so a lot of people, yeah, they feel stressed, anxious, or sad, but they don't know why. I, for one, can testify to that. There are plenty times when the question, how are you, is a big deal for me. Because if I sincerely want to answer that, I probably don't know how to, because I'm probably feeling stressed, anxious. I don't even know how to talk about it. So, how exactly can you advise someone to recognize this and how do they seek for help?
Yeah, I totally understand like your previous statement saying that how difficult it is and like to recognize that and all of that. Yeah, it can be very difficult to recognize when it's time to seek help, especially when there's feelings like stress, anxiety, sadness, and seem to come and go, especially when it's like not stable. But however, a key sign that it might be a time to reach out for help, could and reflect on your daily basis. Simple things like when you find it hard to like maybe you find it hard to do things like it takes extra effort to want to do things. Simple things like maybe your sleeping time changes, like you can be awake for like so many hours and you're finding it hard to sleep. You're finding it like you just even to eat, you're finding it hard to eat. And those little signs are things that you can identify and say, oh, this is not normal. This is not like my normal self. This is not how I struggle to sleep or to eat. I don't really usually need extra efforts to do things. So if you're finding it hard to like all of these things I've just mentioned, to concentrate, to sleep, to complete like everyday usual tasks you do, you're finding this thing extremely hard, or if your emotions are overwhelming, it's a good indication that the person might need a support. You know, another sign is if you're feeling isolated as well, unable to talk to friends or families about how what's going on for the person or how the person is feeling. That could be another sign as well that it's time to like seek professional help. Sometimes people avoid seeking help because they don't want to bother other people. But seeking professional help supports and offers a safe space.
Okay.
And there's, of course, this confidentiality, because I believe that's one very strong thing that make people not talk about things because they feel like, oh, if I tell this person this, she's going to tell this other person. She's going to tell this other person. You get, yeah, yeah. So when you start feeling like everything is an effort, I feel
Okay.
like that's like a major sign.
Okay, okay. All right. I can relate because you know that these days you feel like because of how it's easy for news to travel, you
Yeah.
rather isolate yourself and keep your problems to yourself because you never know before you know what's happening. What you think you shared in confidence is all over and everybody knows about it. So yeah, that's a sign. Obviously, that means that everybody does need, some sort of support for mental
Yeah.
health. That's what it means because we get there at some point. Do you understand? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so there is still a stigma around talking about mental health. Like I said earlier, like I cringe when I hear mental health. I'm like, ooh, no, 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 it's not that serious. Do you get? You understand, yeah. So why do people feel ashamed to ask for help and how can we change that mindset? Like how do you advise that we change that mindset?
So, when we talk about mental health and how people react to it and all of that, the cases might be different. What can make you feel like you want to cringe when you hear mental health might be different for someone else, right? So that's, by the way, like it can be different depending on the person, what mental health seems to be for that person. But anyways, many people could feel ashamed to ask for help because of the stigma that surrounds mental health. Society often feels like or places a lot of emphasis on self-resilience, and the idea that asking for help means that you're weak,
Yeah.
or you're not capable to handle things, can make people want to not seek for help. When they're having mental health challenges, there's also misconception that you should be able to handle everything on your own, and this can create a sense of shame or embarrassment when someone is struggling.
Yeah.
Additionally, cultural and societal expectations can make people feel like they should hide their emotions and not talk about how they're feeling or issues they're having. This can be out of fear of being judged or misunderstood. Someone can come to you today or tomorrow and say, "Oh, I have this feeling and all of that." You might just, this person is going mad.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yeah,
Yeah.
so those kind of feelings can, yeah, make people not want to talk about things.
Okay, so what's your guide to best way to handle this? Like when you're faced with, you already know that this is time for you to seek for help. From the things you've said, right? You know that
Yeah.
you have identified that you need to seek for help. What's the best way to be encouraged It's one thing. I think there are stages to it, like the part where you identify that, okay, now I do need help. Before the stage of you actually seeking help, the middle stage, what's the thing that prompts you, that gingers you, like, okay, let me get up? Because, like, let me give an example of what I mean. I know that I need to eat, right? And I know that there's a stage of I am hungry, and there's a stage of I need to eat food, right? I need to be eating to satisfy my crave for hunger. However, there's a middle stage of getting food. Whether you're preparing it or you're ordering it, there's that middle stage. You have to get food, right? You have to stand up and go. So what's your advice on best way to get up and seek this help actually? Like how to motivate, let me use that word, how to self motivate yourself to getting help.
For me, I'm going to say my own opinion. How to motivate myself is to tell myself, like, you need to get up. You need to be open. Like, you need to speak to yourself. I need to hit.
Yeah.
I need to hit. Like, if you say that to yourself, like 3 times, I need to hit. Trust me, like, you're going to get that's
Like
energy
it's
to
going
want to
to
get up.
sink in. Yes, yes, yeah, I get
Yeah.
that.
So it's important to always, remind ourselves or remind others to ask for help.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's like a positive way. You can remind people or yourself. You need to remind yourself, I need
Okay.
help. I need to seek for help.
Okay. Can I put like an addition? Like for me, I
Yeah,
think another way would be like you need to let yourself know that you are the one that is capable of getting yourself to the point where you get help. There's nobody that is going to,
yeah.
when I realize that I'm staying by myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Food is not going to walk and come to me. I have
Yes.
to do something to get food, right? So when I remind myself, I will get up and do something. Whether I'm making food, I'm hungry. So I think at some point we need to be able to tell ourselves, like, you are the one in the position to get up and go get the help that you need, right? Am I
Exactly. And
correct?
that's why I was like, you need to tell yourself, I need to eat food. I need
Exactly.
to, like, you have to say that to yourself. You need to let yourself know. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. All right. In this era, we already know that social media, right, plays a huge role in how we feel today. I can say like many times, there are times when I practically have to stay away from my phone because you will find out that you are having a good day and all of a sudden you read something on the news. You check your social media and then you find out some information can totally ruin your day. You're either upset about you're either upset about someone's action or you're upset about another person's inaction. Whether something someone did or something someone did not do. You find out that you totally ruin your day, right? So it means
Yeah.
that social media does play a huge role in how our day goes, right? So in our
Yeah.
feelings, basically. So now the question is, what are some ways people can protect their mental health online?
I believe one of the ways people can do that is setting boundaries. It's important to like set boundaries, like for example, boundaries as little as time, certain time, or I'm going to look at social media for 1 hour in the morning. I'm going to look at social media, I'll go on social media for 2 hours in the afternoon, in the evening, half an hour, or stuff like that. So
Okay.
setting boundaries, setting limits on how much time you are going to spend on social media
Okay.
in each day. That's a great way to start. And then we have to be mindful of who and what we follow. That's another one. So in that situations, just like you mentioned, there can be some very provoking people or things on social media, and
Yeah.
that could be as a result of the kind of people we follow, and then all of this kind of provoking or stressful stuff starts to come through to us. So we have to be mindful of who we're following, and when we are mindful of that, if we need to unfollow these people or mute accounts. That's another step. That's another way we can manage social media.
Okay.
And you need to disconnect from social media periodically when maybe you feel like it's too intense, like a lot is going on social
Okay.
media and it's affecting you, just take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, in saying that, take a break. Like, I know the social media can be really engaging, and sometimes it feels like you can't go on a day without going on social media. But at the same time, there's some other engaging things in our environment that we haven't taken note of. So that's a good time to like go around your environments, look for something that is more engaging, something that you know that can positively impact your life, during the break. So that's if you I think would be really good to start. I mean, for someone that is always on social media or maybe addicted to social media, it's gonna be like a gradual step. Like you can't just boom, wake up one day and say, no, I'm not doing social media anymore. So it's gonna take a process. It's gonna be like gradual achieving small goals, like setting time, even if it's no matter how little you start, right? Like in terms of setting time boundaries, just start something. Yeah.
I'm totally in sync with that. Like, yeah, I agree. You take a break, It can be
Yeah.
quite addictive. And like you said, you might not get it immediately you get started. But with time, baby steps, you will get it, right? Good. Okay, so now a lot of people feel guilty for taking breaks. Talking about taking a break, right?
Yeah, I
But
know.
this type of break is different.
Yeah,
They
I
feel
know.
guilty taking breaks, prioritizing themselves.
Okay.
I for one, I can't say that. There are times when I really, really need to take a break. But maybe mommy pressure, work-life balance, Sometimes it's the fact that people are expecting so much from you. Like, let me throw in a joke. I saw something on social media. As sometimes mentally unhealthy social media can be. It can also be a place that makes you crack up and then you just help yourself relieve some stress. I saw something where one guy said, this is to all my family members expecting a lot from me and thinking I'm going to take the lead. This is where I tell you, I'm sorry, choose another person. It was so funny, and I could totally relate because trust me, sometimes there's a lot of pressure in terms of people that look up to us and people that are around us. We're the ones assuming those pressure. Maybe people don't even expect these things. We just assume it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I don't care.
the question is why do we struggle with this and how can we overcome it?
Yeah, to be honest, I think you've really answered the first part of the question, like why we struggle with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, because most times we feel like we want to feel productive.
Yeah.
So you feel like when you're not taking breaks, let's say for example in a working environment, like where I come from, Nigeria to be precise. And there's this working environment, there's this thing about when you're working in a working environment when you're not taking breaks and you're like on it, on the job, on the work, on your job. It feels like this person is doing some work. This person
Productive.
is productive. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So
Even if you
sometimes
achieve nothing.
that's sorry?
Even if you achieve nothing.
Exactly. So is that thought of when I'm not taking a break, I'm being productive, right? So
Yeah.
that's thought as well. It's something that makes us not want to take a break. Like, okay, I'm feeling very important. Yes, I'm working, productive and all of that. And some other times it could be like maybe somebody is needing you to do something and you know for sure that you can't do this thing. Like maybe you're so stressed, like you can't just help. And the person can be okay to like, okay, maybe we can do it some other time. But because you feel like, oh, if I say no to this thing to make me feel like I'm not kind,
Yeah.
right? That's another way. Like we feel like, oh, if I say no or take a break or not prioritize myself when this person is asking for this little help, it means that I'm not kind to the person.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another way I can look at being like not prioritizing yourself over some other need that is coming up.
Yeah.
And so the best way, my opinion, to overcome all of these guilt and all of that is to shift our mindset. You have to change the mindset that taking a break means that that you're not that productive at
Yeah.
what you're doing because you deserve a break. That's the honest truth.
True.
We deserve a break. So that does not mean that you're taking a break does not mean that you're not productive or you're not working or So we have to change the mindset first of all,
Yeah.
and then recognize that taking care of ourselves isn't selfish as well.
Mm.
Like this is not the right time. You can have that discussion with the person. Trust me, the person is going to would appreciate you coming to tell, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. Okay, this time is good. Okay, let's do it this time. You can have that discussion, that conversation with the person. And that doesn't mean that the person is selfish, right?
True.
Yeah. So yes. So I believe that those are some good ways to go about that, changing our mindset and knowing that we need to care for ourselves as
Self.
well, as much as we do for others as well. And if you're caring for yourself, you're not selfish. So don't feel guilty about that.
I totally agree. If there's anything I take from or I have taken from what you just said, it's that line that says when you take a break or when you say no or when you prioritize yourself, it does not mean you're not
Yeah.
kind. Does not mean you're not nice. You totally have to sometimes self prioritize. I agree with that. Thank you so much for that. I needed that nugget. I needed, like, I do need,
Okay.
yes, I do need it. Okay, so now we're almost wrapping up. We're almost wrapping up. Thank you so much. It's been very insightful. But what do you think that simple things that people can do to actually take care of their mental health?
There are many things people can do. When it comes to mental health, really, this is an individual thing. And I like to, even with my career as a counselor, it's a person-centered thing. So it depends on the individual, what the individual likes to do. Yeah. But having said that, some little things we can do is take a break when we need to take a break. You know, when we need to take a break, you do that. We can do physical activities like maybe going to the gym or exercising, taking a quick walk, just kind of short kind of workouts. That's also a good way to practice self-care
Take
or
care.
taking care of our mental health.
Yeah.
And another way also is set aside time for yourself, even if it's just a few minutes. Take time every day to do something you enjoy or that helps you to relax. I mean, these things sometimes we feel like is a lot. Or if you say take time to enjoy yourself. You're thinking, let me say, I have to save like maybe £3,000 or $3,000, 1 million
Yeah.
naira. I have
I
to
was
do
going
that
to
to
say
like
that.
travel. Do you
Yeah.
get? But it's little things that help you relax. For me, like relaxing things for me could be like listening to music. I do that every morning, even before I go to work. I wake up and I want to get ready for work, I'm turning on my music, I'm listening to music, and I'm dancing around, going to the shower, getting ready for work. Like I'm already in the mood for the day. And the same thing, when I come back, I listen to comedies. Like I just laugh and feel relaxed and little things like that. These are the things that relaxes you. So you can find which one works for you. And if it's what that's what works for you as well, like listening to music, practice it. If it's in the mornings, in the evenings, whichever time. So it depends on the individual, what you think works well for you, what helps you to relax. You can think of that and then put that into practice.
Yeah. Okay, so just because I'm a good student and I've learned a lot from some of the things that you have said, I think I'd like to add that it's also important to, not necessarily isolate yourself. There are times when you need to speak to someone. You might not, maybe you're not the best judge of character in knowing the right person to speak to. However, we are people that no matter what, they are in our lives for forever. Parents, our family members, And if you think in your entire family, you don't have anybody you can confide, there'll be somebody somewhere. And okay, so in my own practice, I know that we all struggle with a lot of things. So if I have like 1,001 thing, right, bothering, I could come to you with two things, right? Reason being that, okay, at that time, if we talk, if I unravel what's on my mind, I'll feel better, even if it's just two things. And then I'll start to find out who you are with the two things I've entrusted you with. Are you somebody that you actually did keep my secret with those two things to now know whether, okay, I can open up some more? Or sometimes it's just those two things I need to be out of my mind. Even if you are the best keeper, best secret keeper, I don't even want to tell you more than two things. Two things already made me feel better. So I'm fine. I'll just tell you two things. And you find out that at the end of the day, if you fall in wrong, if the information falls in wrong hands, the two things might not necessarily harm you because you have not overshared. So maybe the word for me is you might find someone to confide in, but also learn not to overshare, except you're talking to a professional. So another thing that I would say is also important to know when to use the service of a professional, right? Like you, I should be able to think at some point that, okay, maybe it's time to seek a counselor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on. If someone is considering therapy, right? But the person feels nervous. You know that thing we said about getting up and go get the help you need. But the person is feeling nervous. What advice would you give to them? Like, if you want to tell me now, and I know someone that is considering therapy, but the person is nervous about getting started, what advice would you give?
Okay, so if someone is feeling nervous about do you mean like
Seeking
consulting like a
therapy.
counselor or something?
If the person is feeling nervous about seeking therapy, like, okay, so let me put
Okay.
that again. You know that the same way we talked about, understanding that there's a time when you need to speak to someone. There are certain people that they're not used to, maybe because someone has, they've lost confidence in people, or someone has, leaked their secrets, or, talk carried their story everywhere. They've learned to keep to themselves. Now, you now tell the person, you know what, it's important to seek a professional help at some point when you start to feel these signs and all. So the person actually does want to seek therapy, but the person is nervous about it. What advice would you give to the person on how to get started? This is aside, let's not say get up and do it like when you're hungry. I know people that when they are hungry, they will not get up. If you like tell them to tell themselves to get up, they would rather have ulcer and be in the hospital, and you start running around to help them. So if people can do that to their tummy, how much more their mental health, their state of mind, that they don't feel cramps like the tummy for the mental health. They don't feel it like that. So it means that those people might, need some sort of, I don't know what your best advice would be, but you understand the
Yeah,
question.
I totally understand what you're saying. Yes, I totally understand what you mean. Like when someone is nervous about seeking help,
Yeah.
and like you're saying that, like what we previously discussed, like telling
Yeah.
yourself to do it, you feel like that's not enough.
Yes. Yes. For some
Yes.
people, yes.
Yes, I understand that. But the thing is, first of all, you have to ask yourself, do I really need this change? Do I really want this to happen? If the answer is yes, right? Yes, like you have to ask yourself, because if you're not ready to have that change, trust me, even if you seek a counselor, you can withdraw at any stage
Oh,
because you're not ready.
okay. Okay.
Yes. So you have to first of all ask yourself, I know what it means to be nervous. I know what it means to be anxious. And like I said earlier, all
Yeah.
of these things is baby steps, small steps. It's not something you just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to consult, I'm calling the counselor because the person is anxious, right? So you have to start small. As little as maybe going on the internet. First of all, maybe browsing
Okay.
to know more about what counseling is.
Yeah.
So when you begin to have an idea of what counseling is, maybe that can reduce the anxiety.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
one step. That's another step. Like that's one step the person can think of or start with. And also, like I said, also is first of all, I think the first step would be asking yourself, do I really want this? Do I want this counseling? Do I want this therapy? And if the answer is yes, and then start doing the search on your own. You don't need to talk to anybody yet. Just do the step on your own. Go online, search for counselor or search for to understand what therapy is about or what counseling is about. That can, sometimes when people can feel anxious because they don't know what to expect as well.
Yeah.
So when you do all the search, you're already beginning to understand what the process is about. And
Okay.
then, of course, and when you feel like, okay, I'm feeling a bit better now, maybe I can engage with a counselor. Maybe I can consult a counselor. If the person is unable to do it on his or her own and feels like, okay, maybe my auntie or my uncle or this my friend has mentioned one counselor, maybe I should ask for a referral or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's everything really when it comes to mental health is what is your goal? What do you want to achieve? And are you ready to achieve these goals? It's an effort like you have to be ready to make. I
Yeah.
mean, nobody can do that for you. That's the honest truth. Like, even if just like the food scenario we talked about, nobody's gonna force you, like someone force you, you must eat. You have to make that effort. Like you have to do it. You have to tell yourself, I need this and I have to do it. I have to
Yeah.
eat. Same thing. It's the same thing. I know anxiety is something that can be very tough and hard, which we know is a major problem, mental health
Okay.
issue. But you have to start small. Small. Ask yourself, do I want it? Every day you can ask yourself, do I want this thing? Do I want this thing? And when you
Yeah.
see reasons why you really need this counseling, and then the next step could be, oh, maybe I should like look at what it's about. Maybe that is going to reduce the anxiety. That is going to reduce my nervousness, my anxiety about looking for help or seeking for help. And yeah, when you start with all of this little step and give yourself time as well. You don't have to do it like now. Oh, I have to look for counselor now. It's a step, it's a process. Just go gradually, little by little. When you start feeling better, when you feel like you're becoming less anxious,
Okay.
then you can engage with a counselor or a therapist, anybody you want to. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Good. I think I got a lot from that. I did get a lot. Yeah, most importantly is not to feel pressure to do everything at once. Baby
Yeah.
steps. Okay, so what if I know someone? Maybe the person does not have the privilege of internet or someone. I just know someone that is struggling mentally, right? What advice would you give me to be able to help that person?
So, first of all, when it comes to mental health issues, I mean, I usually do not encourage people like friends or family like to provide a mental health kind of service to maybe like to a friend,
Okay,
because when you're not trained for that, you don't know the right language you're to use. You don't
true.
know when someone tell you something, you might not know what to do. I don't know if you get that. You might
Yes,
not know how to go about helping the
true.
person. What you can do most times is just listen. And sometimes, maybe someone is having relationship issues and you're just listening, and you might just like want to put the blame or maybe the partner or the person.
Okay.
Or, and you don't know the person's states or things with the partner. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yes, so because of that, because you don't really know what's the right way, what's the right direction I can go with this person, what's the right language I can use, and like we said a bit earlier about confidentiality,
Yeah.
like you don't know, like you could think that you're helping this person by maybe, okay, I will talk to Ali. Ali does this. Ali can help you, and you go and tell Ali. The person might not like you telling Ali about his or her story.
Story.
You understand? That's the privacy breach already, So there are a lot of things around mental health and helping people get better and all of that, which is why it's not advisable for a family member or a friend to provide that. So the best advice I would give is you can recommend, oh, this counselor is good. And then check in with the person often. Okay, are you doing your counseling? Are you getting the help you think you need? Check in how and to know how the person is going, what's the process like for the person. If you feel like the person is not progressing or improving, you can say things like, okay, do you think you need another counselor? Maybe you should discuss that with your counselor and stuff like that. And yes, that's originally what I would advise. And also, if you want to be the listening person, like you want to listen to your friend or you want to listen to somebody telling you a story or whatever they're going through, you can try to listen without being judgmental. You don't need to like say, why did you do that like that? Why did you talk or like maybe judging the person immediately? That can make the person not want to like say more things.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that's another way. And you can also validate the person's feeling. Like, I understand how this is really hard. This can be really hard for you. It can be really hard for everybody. That person's only feeling like, okay, oh, okay. Now someone else has experienced it. Okay, this person understands how I'm feeling. So you can validate people's feelings and their emotions, acknowledge that how they feel and all of that. You can, like I said, encourage them to seek professional help because while you can be a supportive friend or a family member, it's important to remember that mental health professionals have the training to provide the right care. So
Okay.
you can gently suggest that to the person, and you can always be there with the person, like all through the process of the person's recovery or progress. So checking in, asking them regularly how you going, all of those things, so that they don't feel as isolated, like they're alone in that problem. You know, yeah, those are great way. Like you can send text sometimes, or hope everything's going well with you, have you my thoughts and stuff like that. Those are the little way I feel like a friend can really provide support
Yeah.
to a friend that is having mental health issues and not directly or providing what a mental health or a counselor would do because the person is
Do.
not trained for that. Yeah.
I agree. Agree. You're not trained, so there's no
Yeah.
point. You might think you're helping out, and at the end of the day, you're causing more
More issue. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so I agree. But okay, so this little part, let me chip in. Is it okay to pay for a service? Like I know somebody struggling and I know a counselor, a therapist, is it okay to say, okay, if maybe that would encourage the person, okay, I could pay for the service with that counselor and say, okay, you know what, if the issue has to be with you paying, I've paid, and then you can just, do you think that the person might see a need? You know, sometimes people used to say if you want people to value things, then you make them pay for it. So
Yeah.
do you think that will help? If the person did not pay for it, do you think that will help? Because someone that is struggling, is it possible that the person might at the end of the day say, you know what, after all, it's not my money, and not get up and go? Or the person could appreciate it that, okay, my friend really is looking out for me. That's why she or he went out of his way to pay a professional just for me to get help.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, first of all, what I would do in that situation is I'm gonna get the person's consent to
Okay.
say, yes, you can pay for me for
Okay.
this. And if the person is someone that I know that can afford the
Okay.
sessions, and maybe I just want to make that payment just to encourage the person to attend at least, and maybe when a person attends like first or two sessions and sees the benefits, the person might want to engage, continue,
Okay.
like just that first push. I would do that. I would get a consent from the person saying that you can pay for me. Yeah, I will just attend, no problem. I'll say, no worries. I'll let them know I'm gonna pay for you for the first two sessions,
Okay.
because most times, like, why I like to make people get involved, because it's really about them and not the friend
Yeah,
that's paying the fee, right?
exactly. Exactly.
Yes, so it's the person. So you can pay that fee at the end of the day, the person is not ready and your money is gone.
Okay.
So that's why
True.
you have to check that that person is ready to have that change, is ready to have that conversation. Otherwise, you end up wasting your time, wasting your money.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, all right. I think I like the idea of pay for the first two sessions in case you do not want it anymore. I'm
yeah,
not really losing, and then if you
yeah,
want it, I'm sure you'd have seen the need for it, and you continue to pay for the remaining sessions so long as you can
yes,
afford it. Okay,
yes,
I like that. Thank you so much.
yeah,
This has been
yeah,
so
yeah.
wonderful.
That's
Thank you. So
because sorry to
rounding
cut
up,
you. Yeah, sorry to cut you,
okay?
Faith. Because most times, like what you said, like most times the person get to see the value in it
Yeah, yeah,
and the improvement as well, and they're like, and they'll thank you later. Say thank you,
yeah, yeah,
thank you
it's
for
true.
paying for me. Yeah, and that would be really kind of you to do.
Okay, all right, all right. I don't know anyone, but I'll look forward to that. That's probably my charity case, you know. The fact the fact that I have you here now, and I know you will give me discount, so okay. All right. All right, that's been very helpful. I gained a lot of knowledge in this short period of time. There's been a lot of knowledge that you've passed out. Things I did not know. I did not really know I was going to gain a lot, sincerely. And if you could give if you could give your younger self a mental health advice, like if you go back in the day and you want to give yourself something from your current professional view, what advice would that be?
If we can give an advice to my younger self, I think that would be, I'll tell myself it's okay to not to have everything figured out, and asking for help is a sign of strength and not weakness.
Whoa, that's good. I think I'll buy that too. Same with you. Yeah, I'll buy that. I think another, if I want to, can I say something? Can I chip in
Yep.
something? If I'm going to say something to my younger self from being a good student and what I've learned so far, I would say that I have learned that it is important not to play the role of a mental health advisor or a counselor, because I think that I used to be an advisor. There's a very, very funny name back where I come from that they call people like that, advisor Wamagbe. As in,
Mhm.
I can advise for Africa. So, and the funny thing is, half of the time, the advice will boomerang. It will come back on me.
Get into trouble.
So a younger self wants to give myself an advice to be never ever assume the role of a counselor. It's not in your place. You should say, oh yeah, I know one means essay by Terry. That's our profession. Go seek help there. So yes, I'm taking that. And then okay, so if we want to conclude all of this, judging from the fact that I did say that I would never step in the shoes of a profession I know nothing about. If people are listening to you right now and they've seen this and they want to find you, how do you think they can find you?
Okay, I have an Instagram page that is called Being.
Okay.
You can always find me there, send me a message. I have my email is beingmeinspiresme at
Okay.
so that's another way you can reach out. Just send me
Say that
an
again
email.
so that when I'm editing this, I'll put it out there for people to see that in me, inspire me,
Being me inspires me at gmail.com.
gmail.com. Okay. All right.
Yes. So they can always contact me, talk about like maybe they want to talk about things and yeah.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been so much, a lot of advice, information, knowledge. You spilled a lot of knowledge in a very short period of time that I would never have thought that I would hear. And I know that I personally have taken a lot from it. If you have a word or something to wrap this session with, what would you say to the listener, to my audience? What would you say?
I mean, I'll say what I said to my good self, like you have to be you, be you. And when if you decide like, oh, I'm not doing this, it's me first and all of
Mhm.
that, you're not weak, you're not selfish, so just do you. I mean, that's what I would say, do you. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. So if you need help, if you need counseling, if you need to see a therapist, if you feel like, oh,
Mm.
this is not my usual self, the earlier the better, because sometimes when we're delaying on all of these things can result to like more deep issues. Yeah. So when you feel like, this is not me and, all this evidence are there,
Okay.
seek help if you can, if you want to, or if you can, or when you're ready, seek help and just be you. You are you. Nobody else can be you.
Be
Yeah.
you. Be me inspires me. Be you. Thank you so much. It's been very educative. Thank you. And
You're
to
welcome.
my audience, if you think you gained anything from this, please share this with others so that they can gain as much as you just did. And
Yes.
a last line from me. Take care of your mind because you
Yeah.
deserve it. Thank you so much for sharing in today's conversation. It's been
No
tea with
worries.
you.
Thank you for having
See you
me.
another time. Bye.
See ya.